380 beached pilot whales have died after becoming stranded off the coast of Tasmania. About 60 rescuers have been working there really hard over the past 3 days. They're trying to save the whales, which were still showing signs of life. But sadly, the operation has now shifted to moving the hundreds of carcasses out of the shallow water. We're joined now by Dr. Karen Stockin, who is an expert in whale and dolphin strandings. Karen, thanks for joining us. Just devastating for those people who are on the beach trying to save the whales and having to watch them die.
Yeah, very much so. These are obviously charismatic megafauna. They certainly draw a great deal of public attention, and having a lot of people on the beaches trying desperately to aid them when sometimes it's just not possible can be quite devastating for those particular managers and volunteers and medics, definitely.
Why do they do it, Karen?
Well, it's a million-dollar question, and I think the thing that we always keep coming back to is reminding people that there's no one-size-fits-all. We know that there are multiple different types of stranding events. You've got single strandings, you've got mass strandings, such as this one, and you've got unusual mortality events. We call this a mass stranding not just because of its sheer size, but because it's a species and an area which do go together. So Tasmania and Australia have a long history of this particular species stranding in those particular waters. So it's something that's dated back quite some time, and in many cases long before some of the well-known human impacts that we often talk about in today's aspects of what might cause stranding events. Yeah.
So, Karen, pilot whales are more likely to beach themselves, to strand themselves?
There is an element of their social biology that does make them very much at risk, and that's primarily because they are matriarchal society. They form these very strong bonds. Some of these whales, as I say, are living up to 40 or so years of age, and they will stay often in many cases within the natal pod that they're born. And they do have, as I say, extremely strong social bonds, which can mean that they're very reluctant basically to break those bonds. Even if one individual is sick or comes astray, that can result in an entire pod coming in.
It just makes it all the more sad when you say things like that and you think of them as being families stranding themselves. The ocean is changing. We know that. We talk about it all the time. I mean, could climate change or the warming of the ocean have anything to do with this?
Yeah, we get asked this question quite a lot, and I think that the honest answer is that we just don't know at this stage. I mean, one thing that I have made a point of saying in the past, and it's very relevant at the moment, we do have natural oscillations, so natural Southern Ocean oscillations as a consequence of La Nina and El Nino. And at the moment, in a La Nina phase, we know that the ocean temperature is warmer in these current years than it is in an El Nino cycle. So, I mean, those things do affect prey without a doubt. So whether or not those, natural warming and natural cooling of the oceans over those different cycles affect prey distribution and bring those whales closer to shore is certainly a hypothesis that's worth exploring. But broadly, ocean climate change, and is that the reason? Well, I'm afraid we just don't have that kind of data at this stage.
And briefly, Karen, is also the tragic reality. There's not much anyone can do. These things will just happen.
In some contexts, yeah, with these mass stranding events, definitely. There are obviously other strandings, as I mentioned, which certainly do give rise to some consideration of how we use our oceans and whether or not we indeed actually have an impact on driving some of those stranding events. But in these larger events that are very historical and, as I say, have a very strong rooted history, then probably not so much, no.
Okay, Dr. Karen Stockin, thank you for your thoughts joining us from Auckland. Thank you.
Happy birthday.